When I first started my business, I did what so many ambitious women do. I devoured every strategy I can find: courses, podcasts, masterminds, books. I built funnels. I mapped content calendars. I studied other people's launches like it was my job. I hired and then fired experts and team members who promised to be able to help me fill in the gaps, but often only made things more chaotic. At first, I told myself this was all part of the process. The things were working slowly, but they were working, even when they felt messy. But there was this constant hum of anxiety underneath it all. A voice that whispered, "What if you're doing it wrong? What if you miss the magic formula? What if there's one more piece you need before you can really succeed?" So I chased strategy even harder. I planned, I tweaked, I overanalyzed, I delayed action until I could figure it out. And slowly, without even realizing it, I stopped trusting myself. I see this pattern in so many high achieving women who step into entrepreneurship. You've been rewarded your whole life for having the right answer, following the proven plan, and outperforming everyone in the room. That's what made you successful in school, in corporate, maybe even in early business life. But eventually, that very skill became a cage. Because at some point, business growth isn't about knowing more. It's about trusting yourself more. I'm Patty Ferreira, and you're listening to Awakened and Rising, a podcast for soulful, high-achieving women, where we blend soul awakening, emotional intelligence, and high-level leadership to help you rise into your most powerful, aligned, and fulfilled self. If you're new here, hit subscribe so you don't miss these conversations. Now, here's the hard truth. No amount of strategy will move the needle if you don't trust yourself enough to act on it. You can buy the most expensive business program in the world, but if perfectionism keeps you from launching, it won't matter. You can have a beautifully mapped content plan, but if fear of visibility stops you from showing up fully, the plan will just not work. You can build congruent packages and pricing models, but if you have limiting money stories, your bottom line will show it. You can analyze your next move for months, but if you don't take the leap, nothing changes. When you over-rely on strategy, it often shows up in these ways. You keep signing up for new programs because you're convinced you're missing a secret. You're missing something. You spend weeks reworking your offer, your website, your copy, but rarely put it in front of actual people. You rarely publish it. You watch everyone else launch and think, once I understand their system, then I'll be ready. You delay action until you can predict every possible outcome. And maybe without noticing, you've let fear, control, and self-doubt drive your decision-making, disguised as being strategic. The entrepreneurs who thrive long-term aren't the ones who collect the most strategies. They're the ones who trust themselves enough to move with incomplete information. They trust that their intuition is just as valuable as their spreadsheets. They trust that mistakes are survivable and often the fastest path to mastery. Now, I'm not saying abandon strategy. You need structure. You need to know how to market, sell, and deliver what you offer. But strategy without self-trust is like a map in the hands of someone who's too scared to take the first step. Now, the women I work with often come to me believing their problem is that they haven't found the right marketing plan. They haven't found the right business model. But the truth is, their blind spot isn't lack of knowledge. It's really lack of trust. Trust to be seen, trust to lead, trust to pivot, trust to take up space before it's perfect, trust in themselves. That's why one of the most profitable and freeing business moves you can ever make is learning to trust yourself. That's going to really impact your bottom line. Because when you trust yourself, you stop waiting for someone to validate your next move. You stop looking for answers outside of you. You take inspired action faster, and momentum builds. You're resilient when things don't go perfectly because you know how to course correct. You trust that it will be figured out. You build a business that feels like yours, not a patchwork of everyone else's playbooks. If you feel busy, overwhelmed, if you're planning and planning but never taking action, if you're consuming more and more information but still not feeling confident or fulfilled, I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this really a strategy problem or is it an initiation into deeper self-trust? What would shift if you trusted yourself enough to move before you had every answer? What if the clarity you're waiting for is actually on the other side of action, on the other side of taking that move? This is the heart of the work I do with women inside my program, From Blind Spots to Brilliance. It's not another step-by-step marketing system. It's an inner journey, one that helps you see the patterns and blind spots that keep you second-guessing, so you can finally lead from grounded confidence and alignment. That's the objective of this program. If you've been chasing the how and still feeling stuck, this might be exactly what you need. It's self-led, gentle but profound, and it will give you the tools to move with trust instead of fear. I'll leave the link for you below so you can check it out if you feel called to join, if you feel called to discover what it's about. Remember this, your business doesn't just need more strategy. It needs more of you. You fully self-expressed, fully trusting, fully willing to lead. So take the risk, share the post, launch the offer. Stop waiting for perfect. You're more ready than you believe you are. And if you spoke to this version of you, you'd show up. Now, if this speaks to you, there's much more waiting for you here. Check out my other videos on self-leadership, on blind spots, and building a business that feels so aligned. Remember, the most profitable skill you can master as a spiritually attuned business owner is to trust yourself and move with fierce clarity and radical self-assuredness. You've got this, and I'm here if you need additional support. Deep bow. Have an amazing week. Mwah.